2. Inspector Montez had chosen an eye-catching and doubtless very expensive violet tie that morning, which stood out against his lilac shirt. The overall effect was elegant, but it did have an incongruous air of Miami Vice about it. The cops who joined them in the elevator must have thought the same thing, and Amaia didn't miss the disapproving looks they exchanged as they got out. She glanced at Montez since it was likely he'd noticed too, but he just continued checking the messages on his cell phone, enveloped in a cloud of Armani aftershave and apparently unaware of the effect he was having. The meeting room door was closed, but before Amaia could even touch the handle, it was opened from inside by a uniformed officer, as if he'd been stationed there expressly to await their arrival. He stepped aside, giving them a clear view of a light, spacious conference room and more people than Amaia was expecting. The commissioner was at the head of the table with 2 empty spaces to his right. He waved them forward and began the introductions as they moved into the room.
Inspector Salazar, Inspector Montez. You already know Inspector Rodriguez from Forensics and Dr. San Martin. This is Deputy Inspector Aguirre from Narcotics and Deputy Inspector Sabalsa and Inspector Iriarte from the police station in Elizondo. They happened to be out of town when the body was found yesterday.
Amaia nodded a greeting to those she knew and shook hands with the others.
Salazar, Montez. I've called you here because I've got a suspicion. I know Ilisasu's case is going to be trickier than expected,
said the commissioner, taking his seat and gesturing to them to do the same.
Inspector Iriarte contacted us this morning to share some information that could be important when we see how the case you're working on develops.
Inspector Iriarte leaned forward, putting his enormous ice-colliery woodsman's hands on the table.
A month ago, on January 5th to be precise,
he said, consulting a small black leather-bound notebook that was almost hidden by his hands.
A shepherd from Elizondo was taking his sheep to drink at the river when he found the body of Carla Huarte, a 17-year-old girl. She disappeared on New Year's Eve after going to the Crash Test nightclub in Elizondo with her boyfriend and a group of friends. She left with him at around 4 in the morning, and he returned alone about 3/4 of an hour later. He told a friend they'd gotten in a fight, and she became so angry she got out of the car and stormed off. The friend convinced him to go and look for her, and they went back an hour later but couldn't find any trace of her. They say they weren't too worried because there were a lot of courting couples and stoners around the area. Furthermore, the girl was very popular, so they assumed someone she knew had given her a ride. We found hair belonging to the girl in one of those silicone bra straps in the boyfriend's car.
Iriarte paused for breath and looked at Montez and Amaia before continuing.
And here's the bit that might interest you. Carla's body turned up in an area about 2 kilometers from where Ainoa Ilisasu was found. She'd been strangled with packaging string and her clothes had been cut open from top to bottom.
Amaia looked at Montez in alarm. I remember reading about this case in the papers. Had her pubic area been shaved? She asked. Iriarte looked at Deputy Inspector Sabalsa, who replied,
The truth is, there wasn't much of it left. Her whole pubic mound had been torn away by what looked like animal bites. The autopsy report mentions tooth marks from at least 3 different types of animals, and hairs from a wild boar, a fox, and possibly a bear.
A bear? Are you serious? Exclaimed Amaia incredulously.
We're not 100% sure. We sent molds of the tooth marks to the Institute for the Study of the Pyrenean Plantigrades. Apparently, since bears walk on all 4s with flat feet, they fall under their area of expertise. We haven't heard back from them yet, but—
What about the little cake?
There wasn't a little cake. Well, maybe there was. That would explain the bites around the pubic area, since the animals would have been attracted by such a sweet, unfamiliar smell.
Were there bite marks anywhere else on the body?
No, although there were some hoof and paw prints.
What about pubic hair arranged around the body? Asked Amaia.
We didn't find that either, but you should keep in mind that Carla Huerte's body was found submerged in the river from her ankles to her thighs, and there had been torrential rain in the days following her disappearance. If there was anything, the rain would have washed it away.
Didn't you remember this case when you examined the girl yesterday? Amaia turned to the forensic scientist.
Of course, confirmed San Martin, but it's not that simple. There are only similarities. Do you have any idea how many bodies I see in the space of a year? There are common elements in many cases that are entirely unconnected.